Whether you're getting your first ever motorcycle or you've been riding for years, one thing's for sure, ladies and gentlemen, the right set of tools that save your time, your money, as well as your life. This is all you need to know about getting your first ever toolkit and what are the basic tools that you need to have in your motorcycle garage for both basic fixes as well as the professional level fixes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get everything in today's video. Welcome back to another episode of Sunil's View. Let's dive straight in. Hey yo, just bought your first motorcycle? Well, congratulations. Here are some of the tools that you might need in order to maintain that beautiful motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen. Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. The Black Ghost as well as me. Welcome to my beautiful garage and all my tools too, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, you might be little bit scared of what all tools are laid out here, but don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I have split it into two sections of tools. One is the tools that you need. Number two is the tools that you should have, but it will be useful in certain times only, ladies and gentlemen. But first, before going into all of this, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the first thing. Let's say if you bought your first ever motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen, will it going to be a 250cc, 150cc or even a 390cc? The first thing that you should invest in are not these tools, ladies and gentlemen. The first thing that you should invest in are a proper set of gears, helmets, gloves, riding pants, riding shoes, anything that goes around it, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll do a separate video on what and all gears that a basic rider should have both for the city as well as for the highway in a separate video coming soon, ladies and gentlemen. But for now, I suppose you have got all the main parts of the riding gear and now you're trying to maintain a motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen. Whether it be an older motorcycle like this one or whether it be a new 2025 edition, ladies and gentlemen. Here are some of the tools that you need to have to, maintain an art, ladies and gentlemen. Well, motorcycle is an art. Motorcycle riding is an art and maintaining that motorcycle is also an art, ladies and gentlemen. So here are a few of the tools that I have. Well, I accumulated so much. So first and foremost, before going into any of the tools, ladies and gentlemen, the thing that you need to know is simple, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself first a toolbox, ladies and gentlemen. You just cannot lay all of these tools around your home. It will be looking like a mess, right? Get yourself a smaller kind of there is a 20-liter box or a 10-liter box, whichever you can find. You can get it, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not ready to invest that kind of money into a professional toolkit like this one, this is a steel kit, or even this one, this big bad boy over here, well, you can always invest in your local, go to your local scrap market. You can find a lot of empty boxes over there, ladies and gentlemen, with lids. You can buy that and invest into all of the tools that I'm going to tell you here, ladies and gentlemen. So first and foremost, it's going to be the important set of tools that will help you on a day-to-day basis, ladies and gentlemen. First off is going to be one of these, ladies and gentlemen. These are called screwdrivers. Yes, I know. So, what type of screwdrivers you might need in terms of maintaining a motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it's so simple nowadays. Probably like around 15-20 years ago, you need to buy every single type of screwdriver in existence, ladies and gentlemen, whether it be a big one, a small one, or even an interchangeable one. But nowadays, they have made it so easy that you can buy one screwdriver and forget everything, ladies and gentlemen. But I highly suggest you to get three types, ladies and gentlemen. One with an interchangeable one like this one, ladies and gentlemen. This I got for about 150 or 200 rupees. Look, visit your local tools mart, they'll have everything, ladies and gentlemen. This is an interchangeable one. Try if you can get your hands on this size or something like this one too, ladies and gentlemen. They have both sizes for the interchangeable ones. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, interchangeable ones will definitely save your lives when you're operating on a bigger machine, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, get yourself a Phillips head screwdriver this size, ladies and gentlemen, because smaller sizes will help you to reach more undetermined spaces like this area, ladies and gentlemen, or maybe like down area where this set cannot go into, ladies and gentlemen. See, it will hit the floor. So remember to invest in both sets, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself a medium one, a smaller one, and if you can, get yourself in the big boy range, ladies and gentlemen. This is the big boy. This is not an interchangeable one. This is a flathead screwdriver. But screwdrivers are the most important for what? Mostly, mainly not going to use motors. Most of the modern motorcycles do not need screwdrivers. But still, if you are having an older motorcycle, definitely that, ladies and gentlemen. Next up on the list of the important things are going to be the spanner sets, ladies and gentlemen. Well, spanner sets. Here's a huge controversy in that, ladies and gentlemen. Well, modern motorcycles
most of the time do not require any of these, ladies and gentlemen. These are all useless for modern motorcycles. Well, most of the modern motorcycles are bolt nut or rivet nutted, and the one that is mainly important for you is gonna be the Allen key, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I have my Allen key set right over here. Yeah. So these are called as Allen keys, ladies and gentlemen. They come in different sizes and shapes. They even go towards this lens, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can see it. Let me see. Yeah, I hope you can see it, ladies and gentlemen. But I'll put a picture up right over here. You can go till towards this size, ladies and gentlemen. And these are some sets of, Allen keys that you might need, because modern motorcycles, not only one, ladies and gentlemen, they also have a lot of fairing kits that you need to remove, whether it's going to be a naked bike or whether it's going to be a super sport or an adventure, ladies and gentlemen. Modern motorcycles requires this piece of technology. So go look, visit your local dealer, or you can find it on Amazon, ladies and gentlemen, Allen keys, and then invest in spanner sets, ladies and gentlemen. You can also invest in a spanner set like this one, or you can invest in a spanner set like this one, ladies and gentlemen. Both are entirely different. This is called as a ring nut spanner and this is called as a normal spanner. Highly suggest you to invest in both of these, because it might be useful in some cases. Some cases the Allen keys are useful, some cases this are also useful, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you an example. So this tire right over here connects to the stem of the socks, ladies and gentlemen. I think so. This requires, this requires a 11 side double nut. You can easily undo it or easily you can tight it, ladies and gentlemen. You can also use that too, ladies and gentlemen. I think I have a 11 mil spanner right over here. Let me search. I'll show you the entire toolbox that I have inside, ladies and gentlemen. But this is a little bit too extreme for all the new riders out there, ladies and gentlemen. You might not need this kind of a toolkit, but obviously you might know I have a lot of vintage motorcycles in my collection. So I require all these tools to keep it running as well as to float, ladies and gentlemen. So the next important thing on the list, ladies and gentlemen, it gonna be pliers as well as cutting wire cutters, ladies and gentlemen. There are two types of cutting pliers. One is this one, ladies and gentlemen, and one with a normal kind of a slim end, ladies and gentlemen. You can use both of these, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, sometimes on older motorcycles as well as newer motorcycles, there are a lot of nuts and bolts underneath as well as on the back, somewhere around the motorcycle, where it's going to be stuck because either it has been rusted or the previous mechanic has just fucked it up by tightening over bits, ladies and gentlemen. So you can use this for more gravity, ladies and gentlemen. So invest in these kinds. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the tools that you see on the floor right now, ladies and gentlemen, you can absolutely buy every single one of them in your local tool mart, ladies and gentlemen. They all have, you don't need to buy every single one of these, ladies and gentlemen. Just get yourself a full set of spanners, a full set of Allen keys, a full set of screwdrivers, ladies and gentlemen. You get probably around 7 to 8 different sizes, or maybe 10 to 15 different sizes of spanners, depending on how much you want to spend. And also you can get a set of screwdrivers. I'll show you another example. I'll show you another type of screwdrivers that you can actually invest in at a little bit costlessly, ladies and it's a little bit less cost, ladies and gentlemen. Something you can invest in instead of buying this type of screwdrivers are gonna be like this one, ladies and gentlemen. This is also a type of screwdriver, but it has all the bits that you might need. You have a flathead screw, two types of flathead, a little thick one, a minute one. You have this type of Phillips head screwdrivers. You can all just add over here and just you can work on this, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not ready to invest in this kind of big ass proper normal head, ladies and gentlemen, you can also invest in this kind of toolkit, screw kit too, ladies and gentlemen. This is also available, and there are so many things that are available too, ladies and gentlemen. If you visit your local goddamn tool mart, they will explain every single thing, ladies and gentlemen. And what else, ladies and gentlemen? So next up, after this, ladies and gentlemen, the number two just give me 1 second. Yeah, the second part of the toolkit that you might need in the future cases, ladies and gentlemen, apart from these, get yourself a handy looking and a handy working torchlight, ladies and gentlemen. See, it has 2 sets of torchlight, top as well as on the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. If you're working long hours on the night, probably you will while working on your motorcycle. You need something to see where the toolkits are as well as where the nuts and bolts are. You can use this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a pretty handy tool, and I think this is from a company called Bulwark. This is a local company, ladies and gentlemen. I've just bought it for 900 rupees, and this has been saving my life both on this as well as my project car, ladies and gentlemen. And also, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually magnetic, so you can stick it anywhere on your motorcycle, whether it's it's a metal or anything, ladies and gentlemen. You can stick it and it will stick forever, ladies and gentlemen. So that's a pretty good feature. And also it has a hook, so that you can hook it to any of the wires right over here, and it will stay for like that, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're a YouTuber like me, you can use this as a lighting effect. Yeah, you can see that, right? You can use this as a portable light too, ladies and gentlemen, and it holds charge so good that you can work on motorcycle for hours to come. So the battery life on this is going to be around 4 to 5 hours on a full charge, and it takes about 1.5 hours to fully charge, ladies and gentlemen, and is also a Type-C chargeable. So it's so easy, you can fit it into any mobile chargers that you got home. So this is a 900 rupees. I think I have some alternatives to this also. If I do find any of that, I'll put it down in the comment section below, or you can find it, ladies and gentlemen. It's so simple. Next up after this is going to be this one, ladies and gentlemen. What this is? Well, this is a goddamn tire pressure monitor, ladies and gentlemen. The first most important thing that you need to have in order to inflate your tires, ladies and gentlemen. This is from a company called Cubo. You might have heard it, Cubo, ladies and gentlemen. Cubo is a brand that is really doing well right now in terms of, safety, the dash cams for cars. And one of their products is going to be this one, ladies and gentlemen. Again, as I told you before, most of the stuff that I use here, I only make a video if I have used it and greased it enough for probably about a year and a half. Then only I make a video saying this product is good. So the Cubo, I've been using it probably around a year and a half right now since I bought it. You can see all of the dust marks on it. You can also see the greases, the glass is a little bit scratched off. I've been using it. So good, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good. Cost is a little bit higher. It's about 2,500 rupees on Amazon, but you can find so many other brands that deal with tire pressure monitor, ladies and gentlemen. And it has this, ladies and gentlemen. You can remove it and you can store it, ladies and gentlemen. And also this works supremely well. It is also a Type-C charger, same as this flashlight, ladies and gentlemen, and it has a powerful motor on full charge, ladies and gentlemen. It takes about 1.5 hours to charge. On a full charge it will pump 4 motorcycle tires. Cars, it will take 2 car tires, ladies and gentlemen. That's all the motor is. It's a pretty light motor, but it is useful for home use, ladies and gentlemen, not for the full end practicals, the motorcycle shop use, ladies and gentlemen, but for home use this is perfect. So when I full charge it, ladies and gentlemen, I usually air up both the front as well as the rear tire on the Black Ghost as well as my other motorcycle, that is my red dot, ladies and gentlemen, the Ducati Monster. I know Ducati Monster is not right here, but you might have seen the last video on where it is. If not, links are down in the description below, top card. You can see the last video on where that motorcycle is, ladies and gentlemen. So invest yourself in a good piece of tech like this, ladies and gentlemen. It will so much help you, because modern motorcycles, especially in the mid-range class, ladies and gentlemen, do not have a tire pressure monitor sensor, ladies and gentlemen, inbuilt in the motorcycle. And the aftermarket stuff for the tire pressure monitor system is not that good. It's compromised, ladies and gentlemen. Only the top tier bikes like the 800 to 1200 cc motorcycles have company fitted, ladies and gentlemen. They are trying to do it in the mid-class section, but again, it's just a fashion piece, to say the least. So grab yourself one of these, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's a little bit noisy, but you get the idea, right? So let me just give me 1 second. Let me off it. So what's next, ladies and gentlemen? Well, these 2 big boys right over here, these are called as your entire set of socket wrenches, ladies and gentlemen. This side of socket wrenches are the small ones, ladies and gentlemen. If you can invest in this box, I think so this box comes around like I think so around 1,000 to 1,500 rupees, and that big box right over here comes to around approximately 3,000 rupees. But this has all your screw bits, if you're investing in this, you have all your screw bits, your LNT bits, as well as you have sizes starting from 4 inches all the way to about 14 inches on wrenches, ladies and gentlemen. And you have both your sideways wrenches as well as your top mount wrenches, as well as if you need a little bit of boost, you got all of these extra bits so that you can go into areas that are unreachable, usually in race fad motorcycles, ladies and gentlemen. And if you go with that big box right over here, you might probably not get all the screw bits, but you can get extreme sizes, ladies and gentlemen, starting from 8 all the way to about 22 inches, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the gut on that, ladies and gentlemen. And also same as that, you get all other accessories, ladies and gentlemen. So you might be thinking, I might have to invest in this too. If I invest in these two, that's enough instead of investing all of these. Well, here's a kicker, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this is useful for removing, you have all the tools that you require. You don't need a spanner set, right? That's your thought. Well, if you buy this, yes, it's true, you not invest in spanner sets, but here's the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. You can use this only on parts that are available on the outside and do not have any incurrence, ladies and gentlemen. Like this nut over here, it's exposed to the outside and there's no disturbance, so that you can easily fit it right over here and you can twist it. But if you are down there, ladies and gentlemen, or if you're down in here, let's say there's a nut holding it right over here between the carburetors and the air fuel ratio, this you cannot get it, ladies and gentlemen. Why so? Because see amount of, I hope you can see it, ladies and gentlemen, but or you know what, I'll show you another example too, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say there's a nut right over here. See, I cannot twist it, ladies and gentlemen. There's always gonna be a little bit of headache when you're trying to remove nuts that are hidden or inside the motorcycles, ladies and gentlemen. This doesn't have the enough leverage to put you and twist it, ladies and gentlemen. At that time, you definitely need to invest in this spanner set, or as I told you before, ladies and gentlemen, the ring spanner set. Well, this is all the tools that you probably need on your first ever motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen. And also I forgot one thing. I forgot even that, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, me too, I forgot that. Get yourself a puncture kit, ladies and gentlemen. That will save you on the long run. Keep yourself again 2 or 3 puncture kits. When you're driving long distances, please take that and put it on your backpack and go. It will save you on the long run when you get punctures on your tires when you're outside, ladies and gentlemen, and during the night time. It's so easy. I really need to practice on how to do puncture kits myself, ladies and gentlemen. So let me show you what tools I have in this big box of toolkit, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the big boy of toolkits that I got. Well, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of drawers, and every single tool that I own is not bought, just inherited from my parents or from my grandparents too. They are huge motorcycles, so they have a whole set of tools, and probably some of the tools that you might see in this is going to be probably like around 50 to 60 years old, ladies and gentlemen. So it still works. That's the beauty of mechanism on your motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen. Tools will never leave you. They come generation to generation, just like a goddamn high-end watches like the Tissot or the Rolex, ladies and gentlemen. So ladies and gentlemen, apart from all the tools that I have here, let's check into the first drawer. But before that, let's check up here. Oh yeah, hi, this is me. But this is my old toolbox that I have, and this is a set of toolbox that I usually own that contains all of the nuts and bolts that I usually use or take from my motorcycle that I don't use. Probably will need it in the future, so I have it. And this is nothing but just a box to hold my nuts here. My nuts in, ladies and gentlemen, while I'm working on motorcycle. You can find this is why I didn't put it in the toolbox section, because you can find anything, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need just a toolbox. You can use like this, an empty big plate, or anything that layers around, ladies and gentlemen. You can use anything, ladies and gentlemen, so that's why I didn't add it, but you get the... So ladies and gentlemen, back on the top, usual stuff, ladies and gentlemen. The age-old antique WD-40 for older motorcycles as well as newer motorcycles, ladies and gentlemen. It will destroy and kill every single rust on your motorcycle and free up all the greasy parts on your motorcycle. So get yourself a WD-40. Again, it's not an important tool. It'll help you on the long run. So get it while you can, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, the first section of the drawer, ladies. I know it looks kind of messy because I have a lot of goddamn tools, both inherited and bought, ladies and gentlemen. We do got double-sided tape. I don't know why I use this. I'm not going to use this on my motorcycle, but still it's here. Again, random tapes, random lights. I told you before about this, ladies and gentlemen. This is the, the small size. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, this is the, ow. So this is the normal, toolbox kit that you can invest in. It has all the bits and pieces, ladies and gentlemen. Just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second before I close this shit up, ladies and gentlemen. And what else? Come on, let's go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what else? I got all of the screwdrivers, lot of screwdrivers, electrical tape. That's mostly important for covering up all the wires on this motorcycle. I got, I got an oil filler for putting oil related to nuts and bolts. I got M-Seal too. M-Seal. Get yourself an M-Seal. They'll help you. I got tape for, plumber's tape. Allen key, as I told you before. That is the first drawer. And let's go on to the second drawer. All of the spanner sets are here. Starting all the way for this big boy over here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what the size is. I think this is a 27 size, ladies and gentlemen. God damn it, I have this one too. This is a 28 size. God damn it, I have this one too. God damn it. Bigger ones. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, sorry about the quick little break I had, ladies and gentlemen. Got very tired, needed something to, spice up my tongue. So, anyway, back, ladies and gentlemen. What I was missing, second drawer, as I told you before. Third drawer, I got all of these, ladies and gentlemen, double-head screwdrivers. Double-head spanners, ladies and gentlemen. I got all the big sizes as well as the smaller sizes, ladies and gentlemen. I need to fill this, but you get the point, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go on to the fourth drawer. This is all of the miscellaneous stuff that I have, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, I have my detailing brushes over here while I need to clean my engine. I need to clean myself too, ladies and gentlemen. But you get the point, ladies and gentlemen. I do got a leveler in case, or if I don't. I do have a driller, cardboard driller. I think most of the cards are up on the first drawer. I need to search. But still, I have all the drill bits for this. And this is, yes, I know it's a card drill, but it helps. It uses, ladies and gentlemen. I got my Ducati's battery maintainer right over here. Next drawer, last up, ladies and gentlemen. As I told you before, yes, I took all and kept it inside. Looking a little bit neat. Always remember, ladies and gentlemen, keep your garage spotless and clean, and that makes you to work even more on your motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your surroundings a little bit cleaner, ladies and gentlemen. So I do got both of the socket wrenches set right over here, and this is my normal battery tender as well as recharger for all my motorcycles as well as my other cars too, ladies and gentlemen. So I got this one right over here. It works too. I'll put a separate video on this, ladies and gentlemen, coming sooner than you think. So this is my entire toolbox kit, ladies and gentlemen. Up here I do got a lot of miscellaneous stuff like the dashboard cleaners. I do got my 3M shampoo, which I need to buy. It's gonna get over. I do got some grease over here from Castrol, older motorcycle, and I do got an engine degreaser as well as the engine cleaner as well as wheel and alloy cleaner, WD-40. Another oil filler or oil tank filter, whatever you want to call it. A small brush to removes dirt from the chains on motorcycles, so I got that, as well as zip ties, the most important part on anything, ladies and gentlemen. Zip ties. I do got some old raggedy cloth if I need to rub it. If you need to you know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. You got the drift, right? But let me show you all the nuts I have. See, all the nuts, bolts, miscellaneous stuff. So these are all of the tools that I have saved as well as bought to work on not only my motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen, but also my cars too, ladies and gentlemen. So first and foremost, as I told you before, ladies and gentlemen, before investing a huge lots of sums of money on tools, invest large sums of money on safety gears, ladies and gentlemen. I'll update you with a separate video on safety gears, what you should need, as I told you before, ladies and gentlemen. But this is all the tools that I got on my goddamn garage, ladies and gentlemen. With that said, hope you like this video, ladies and gentlemen. You know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, turn on that bell notification, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Sunil Shoe. Until then, it's your boy Sunil signing out. Take care.